Are you ready for some extreme action? Some extreme action? Well, you're in luck, because I'm going to be reviewing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, one of the best extreme sports games, which is basically focused on around skateboarding. Now, this game came out not in just one console, but 4 consoles. Well, also the Engage version, so that would be 5 at least. So yeah, 5. So here are the games that I'm going to review. Now, if you thought Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was the first skateboarding game, well, think again, because it's not the first skateboarding game they made. There was Sega's Top Skater and EA's Street Skater, which both of these came out first before Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Well, here it is, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and you got 4 options: Career Mode, 2-player, Single Section, and Free Skate. There are 10 characters you can choose from: Tony Hawk, Bob Burnquist, Jeff Riley, Bucky Lask, Chad Muska, Cameron Campbell, Andrew Renoids, Rune Gilfberg, Jamie Thomas, Alicia Steamer, and Officer Dick. Once you choose the character, you're ready to adjust the skateboard by switching the boards, color wheels, and changing the turnings. You can choose up to 8 different boards and 15 different colors of wheels. Though 2 boards are only playable at the start, which you can only unlock them if you get some tapes, which we'll get to that later. And there are 9 locations in the game. We got warehouse, school, mall, skate park, downtown, downhill jam, Burnside, streets, and Roswell. When you start up the game, you'll notice that this is a trick type game, which is basically around skateboarding. There are only 8 grab tricks and 8 flip tricks your skater can do, and performing tricks will give you points. You can also find bonus icons as well, which there are 100 bonus and 5 bonus icons. You can also grind in the game, but you have to keep your skater balanced, because if you mess up, you'll fall and bail. And grinding will give you more points, especially when doing combos at least. They also introduce gaps in the game, which gives you more points. But remember, you will not earn points if you wipe out, whether you land sideways or hold a trick too much, or if you do a trick that you don't have enough air to do it. But to be fair, bailing when trying to rack up more points is a big pain there. Now, each of the skaters also have their own special tricks, but most, but not all of the skaters have the special tricks that has to do with flips. But that's not all. Even Tony Hawk's 900 is in this game. But you cannot do more than one special trick at a time, as you will bail, except for grinds. But you can only do this if you fill up your special meter. But bailing or going into an out-of-bounds area will completely drain your special meter. They also have replay mode, which changes different camera angles when watching this, as if you were watching a skateboarding show. They also have highlights, which only shows your best performance in this one. But of course, you'll need a memory card to save it. Now, this one has career mode, which not only you have to rack up some points to reach the goal, but there's other objects as well. There's one where you have to knock over the boxes in warehouse, but there's other different ones in later levels. And where you have to collect the word skate, S-K-A-T-E, 5 of them. And, of course, the hidden tape, which in later levels, it'll get more trickier and harder, like the one in Downhill Gym, where you have to jump over that to get it. And also streets, where you have to go up to a building and drop down to reach it. And completing these objects will earn you a tape, which includes a new level and a new deck as well as some states increased. But getting all 30 tapes will unlock Officer Dick. But there's other interesting features in the levels too, like the one with school, which if you go to the gym, you can destroy the basketball net. The mall, which is basically a downhill one, but you'll have a fun time riding through escalators and shattering maps. And also a water fountain you could find as well. And if that's not all, You can even catch one of your friends to see you grinding through these, just to reach the secret tape, that is. And how about skating outside the mall? Oh yeah, and once you reach the end of the stage, you go all the way back to the beginning, as if time ran out. See what I mean? But at least you can impress your friends by doing a flip over the 16 stair set. They even came up with other fictional product placements as well, like Pizza Face.
Pizza Face. Yeah, Pizza Face. That's what it is. The restaurant. Oh! Oh! Hit my hat! Good thing I'm wearing this, at least. Anyway, thank you for the pizza! Alright, back to what I was talking about.
3 of the levels have competitions, which is basically around doing tricks. And you only got a minute to do so, which after each heat, it will give you the judge score, and the top 3 will give you the results. So you better do well if you want to earn a medal. And performing combos will give you more points and a higher ranking as well. But once again, bailing will hurt your score. And finishing in top 3 will earn you a medal. Plus, if you manage to get all 3 gold medals, you will unlock an FMV Theo from the skaters. Now, downtown takes place at night, where you can see some FMV footage as well. Whether it's from the park or on TV. Just watch out for these taxis, they'll go crazy on you. Downhill Jam is another downhill level, which is basically filled with valves, and a ton of jumps. But here's an easier way to complete the pro score, is by grinding through these rails by making it to the top. Like doing so much rotations, you'll make it to the end of the stage, and you'll be rewarded some points and a tape. But what about the section where you try to reach for the bonus one? Or turning on valves, or knocking over barrels. But here we got is streets. But watch out for police officers, especially Officer Dick. Oh wait, Officer Dick is not even in this level. There is a quicker way to get to the top of the building, but it's going to take a lot of effort. But after so many tries, I actually managed to get up there. But here's a much easier way. But what I kind of forgot to mention is that the soundtrack is awesome. Like, there is like 10 soundtracks in this game, including Dead Kennedys and Goldfinger. Like, seriously, they have a killer soundtrack. Even Trolley is in the Streets level as well. I hope Mr. Rogers didn't see that. Burnside is another competition one. Not much in there, except there's a Neversoft logo in the bowl, which is the eyeball. And finally, Roswell, which is basically another competition, but it's tougher than the other 2. So you're going to be making a lot of combos and special tricks. There's even a spaceship, which is in the bowl, and an alien, which I could assume this takes place in Area 51. But now let's get on to the basics with 2 players. Which you got Graffiti, Trick Attack, and Horse. Okay, so in Graffiti, players have to grind in one of these to do it, which landing successfully will reward you a point. And whoever has the most points wins the game. There's also Trick Attack, but that one's basically the same as Single Section, but except you're playing with 2 players. And finally, you got Horse, which you can choose up to 10 letters in the game. So what you're doing is you basically have to set a score, but in one combo. Then your opponent has to beat it. But if they bail or not earn enough points, they get a letter. And whoever gets all the words loses the game.
So that concludes the PlayStation version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. It's a pretty awesome game. But now let's get on the basics with the Nintendo 64 version. Now this one, while good, is not as great as the PlayStation version, but why don't we check it out?
Okay, so to be fair with the Nintendo 64 version, all of the FMVs were replaced with trick tutorials, which is basically good for Nintendo players who never played the game before. I mean, it was given an E rating, while the PlayStation and the Dreamcast versions were both given a teen rating. But they did have quicker loading screens at least. Okay, so pressing the A will give you a preview of the trick. Also, why is Indy in this one? I mean, you can't perform it in the game. But anyway, getting all 3 gold medals will unlock a signature move tutorial for the skater. But what's the point if you already mastered it? But anyway, while the gameplay is basically the same, 8 out of 10 of the soundtracks made it into the Nintendo 64 version, but most of them are either in instrumentals or loops completely. And for some strange reason, the Indy nosebone animations as well as the method are slower. I mean, it was understandable because the Nintendo 64 version does not have a lot of memory as with the PlayStation and the Dreamcast version does. Like, the Nintendo 64 uses cartridges and can only hold up to 8 to 96 megabytes, while the PlayStation can hold up to 650 megabytes and the Dreamcast a gigabyte. The FMVs were also removed for the same reasons. Edge of Reality also developed the Nintendo 64 version of the game as well. But despite those criticisms, the Nintendo 64 version was a great port of it. Because like I mentioned earlier, the gameplay is basically the same as the PlayStation versions.
So yeah, the Nintendo 64 version, that one is also great, despite the fact that it's not as good as the PlayStation version. But now, let's get on to the Dreamcast version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Now, you see this? That one was published by Crave Entertainment. Yeah, Crave Entertainment. But that's why it was published.
Yeah, the Dreamcast version is basically the same as the PlayStation version, but there's some differences. The graphics look great, and the soundtrack is more high quality than the PlayStation and the Nintendo 64 version does. And even the gameplay and controls are the same as the previous two. And to be fair, this is one of the best Dreamcast games they ever made. I mean, other popular Dreamcast games like Shenmue and Crazy Taxi even gains these.
Well, we got one more port to go. It's the Game Boy Color version of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Now, this one is not as good as the consoles version, but if you're planning on taking this to go, then wait till you get home. But why don't we check it out?
Okay, so the Game Boy Color version only has 3 modes: half-pipe mode, tournament mode, and 1 versus 1 mode. Let's go with half-pipe mode, but at least you get all 10 of the skaters from the consoles version, just with different stats. And there's 3 locations: Burnside, Skate Park, and Downtown. Okay, so for the half-pipe, this is basically doing tricks type, but you only have 8 tricks, which 4 grab tricks and 4 flip tricks. But the combos aren't that great, to be honest, which you can only do 2 at a time, because if you try to do more than 2, you'll end up wiping out. And if you do wipe out, you go all the way back where you start off with. But unlike the consoles version, it does stop the timer when bailing. And for some strange reason, the backflip is a trick even though it's a special trick in the consoles. And exiting out any of these will send you back to the title screen. Now let's do tournament mode, which you got a password screen, simple as that, and 5 stages: street, park, downtown, harbor, and skate park. Okay, the race is starting. Oh yeah, if you press up twice or more, you'll speed up, which you got these S icons. They're useful when crashing, but you can only get these limited at a time, which of course you can find some more during progress. You can also do tricks, but it gets very annoying because it interrupts your game by showing a skater doing a trick. I think it's probably Tony Hawk doing one of these. But to be fair, these are required to do well in this. Now, you need these S icons to speed up, because if you crash and don't have any, you will definitely not do well in the race. And with the exception of grinding, you can only do 5 grab tricks in racing. But along the way, you'll find some VHS tapes which will award you some more points. And after each race, you'll be resulted with a total of the amount of points. Now, doing tricks and racing is important. Oh yeah, your opponent can also knock you off your board during the race as well. While the soundtrack for this port is alright at least, it's not as excellent as the console's version. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend this game unless you're a big Tony Hawk fan.
Well, at least it was their best effort on this. And you know, I pretty much played almost every port of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. There's also the N-Gage version that I don't own, but that one's pretty much the same as the PlayStation version, just with some minor differences. So yeah, that concludes my review on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Stay tuned for the sequel that I can review, and hopefully it'll be good.